Ismail Abdul-Salam, beatsboxingmayhem.com. Here with a very special guest. This man is 10-0. He's going to be making his Atlanta debut on October 23rd in the co-feature of the Shakur Stevenson Jamel Herring card. He is the youngest prospect ever signed to Top Rank at 16 years old. He's 19 now, and he's just entered the junior middleweight division. I'm here with none other than Xander Zayas. Xander, how are you doing today, man?
Man, thank you very much for the great introduction. I feel amazing. Getting ready for October 23rd, and just excited to put on a show in Atlanta.
Glad to hear that. Glad to hear that. So before we talk about Atlanta, let's go back to your last fight. It was very interesting. Your first fight at junior middleweight, so new division coming up from welterweight. So the first question I have for you is just how did your body feel coming into that new weight class? What differences did you notice?
Man, my body felt amazing. I mean, less weight to cut down. I could, I was able to come into fight week a little heavier. Even though the fight was scheduled at 152, we were able to make it super easy. I mean, just overall, it was an amazing experience. Something that I knew that it was going to be easy, but I didn't expect it to be that easy, like it was.
Got it. And you immediately tested him. When you came out in the first round, you were digging to the body, you had him on his heels. He came back a little bit in the third round, not as far as like winning the round, but basically hit you with a few shots, got your attention. You were willing to brawl with him. Did you notice anything different power-wise being in that new division, or did the punches still feel relatively the same?
Well, in the fight, I mean, we knew that it was going to be a tough fight. I mean, he was a Mexican warrior that was coming to fight. That was coming off a draw against Adrian Granados. We knew that he had heart and he wanted to win. So we had to make adjustments. That's what we did throughout the fight. In the third round, I actually hurt him and knocked him down, and then I kind of got tired a little bit. Threw punches in that round. So in the fourth round, I kind of went back to the fundamentals, keeping the hands up, just moving around, trying to catch my breath, just relaxing the body and letting him know that we got to get back to what we do, to boxing and show him that we're better than him. And in the fifth and sixth round, I came on. I was ready to go, and I closed down the show with a unanimous decision.
Absolutely. And it's good that you mentioned that, because a lot of times when fighters get tired, they kind of panic. When guys coming at him, you really kept your composure. How were you able to do that? Was that your first experience ever being, kind of winded and having to make sure that you play defense to get through the round?
No, not at all. I mean, it was my first time that I went through it in a fight. But at the end of the day, we're boxers, and we have to adapt to things. When I got back to the corner, the first thing my coach and my dad told me was breathe, catch your breath, relax your body, let your mindset focus on whatever we got to tell you and whatever you have to do in there. And that's just what I did. I forgot, once I got to the corner, I forgot about all the noise outside, all the fans, everybody. I just try to, compose myself and get back on there and do my work.
Got it. And I noticed when you mentioned when you got back to your jab, the fight was very easy when you were out jabbing him, relatively comfortable, no issues. But I also noticed you had a lot of fun too when you took away the jab and just playing catch and shoot, just picking off his shots. That's when you kind of got that knockdown that wasn't called. What is your preference? Do you like to kind of lay back and make it the easy fight, or did you enjoy like really digging in the trenches and doing that catch and shoot approach?
I'll say kind of a little bit of both. Sometimes I like to, just outbox somebody and show them that I can outbox them anytime I want. But sometimes I also like to show them that, that I'm the boss, that I can take any chance that I want, and that I'm in there to fight. I like to mix it up a little bit. Again, it all depends on the type of opponent we got in front of us. But throughout my career, throughout my 10 fights, I've been able to showcase that I could box, but I can also brawl.
Got it. So let's move now to your new opponent, Dan Karpency. He's going to be fighting him on the 23rd. He seems like another guy that might be a little bit tricky to figure out exactly what you're getting in the ring, because there's not a lot of footage out there. I even looked on YouTube. Yeah. He has a fight up there from like 2016. So who knows how different he is now about 5 years later. So how difficult is it, if any, to kind of prepare for a guy that there's really not that a lot, footage out there about?
Well, like you said, it's not a lot of footage. So we have to go by whatever we have, which is the video of 2016, and kind of work off of that. I mean, he's been a year inactive, so he has a little rust on him. I just came off of a great fight, of a great unanimous decision. This will be my 5th fight of the year, so I got the rhythm going, and I'm gonna use that against him. I'm gonna use my rhythm. I'm gonna use my boxing skills, my power, and my determination to win. To go out there and do what I do best.
And I know, like you mentioned, you put it out there for about the whole year now. You're going to be prospect of the year. I think you're in the lead now. Like you mentioned, you're very active. A lot of the other guys, like Emma Williams, kind of other guys that would be contenders, haven't fought as often. So that kind of puts you in the lead. To me, the only kind of rival you might have is a friend of yours, Edgar Berlanga, depending on what he does this weekend against in the Fury fight on the undercard. So what, in your opinion, do you feel, besides just the activity, kind of puts you in the lead as far as being the prospect of 2021?
Well, right now, Berlanga just won prospect of the year last year. So I don't believe, and I think he doesn't believe that he's in that conversation anymore. He won it once. Every time we talk about it, he wants me to get it next. So he's not in that conversation anymore. I mean, if he wins prospect of the year, I'll be happy for him. It will be back-to-back prospect of the year. If not, if I come out as the winner of prospect of the year, that'll be 2 Puerto Ricans back-to-back. So either way, we'll be making history. But again, it's just part of staying focused, staying dedicated, coming out with the victory every time, looking better every time, and just showing everybody that I know and I have room to improve. And every time I step into the ring, just make something a little different that makes me look a lot better. That's what's gonna get me to that next level, and that's what's gonna solidify that I will win prospect of the year at the end of the year of 2021.
I appreciate you reminding me. I completely forgot that Edgar won last year. It shows you what the pandemic has done to everybody. I completely forgot. So thank you for that reminder. And speaking of that, like you mentioned, 2 Puerto Ricans possibly winning it back to back. When we look at the boxing landscape now, we only have a few champions. Amanda Serrano's a big one on the women's side. I think McWilliams Aurora has an interim belt at WBC.
Yes.
And I think also, Wilfredo Mendez has a belt at minimum weight. I think WBA.
Wilfredo Mendez, yes, he does.
So we do have a handful. So it kind of seems like, there's a little bit of a lull. It's not as bad as it was a couple of years ago. I know the big story a couple of years, you might remember that.
Yeah.
Oh, there's no Puerto Rican champions at this point. What's going on? So it seems like things are kind of having an upward tick. I just wanted to get your opinion just in the Puerto Rican community overall. Do you think boxing is as popular as it was in the heyday of Cotto, Trinidad, even going back to Wilfredo Gomez? Do you still see that enthusiasm for the sport in your generation?
Well, I do see it. Maybe not as big because, again, we've had throughout the past years, we've had a lot of prospects that when they get to that contention level, something happens to them and they don't get to that next level. So Puerto Rico right now, I don't want to say they lose hope or they lost hope, but I want to say that they just waiting for that next superstar. And right now we have a lot of talent in Puerto Rico. We have a lot of prospects and a lot of guys that are into that contender talk. In the map, I mean, we have Berlanga, we have Vargas, we have the Adorno brothers, Capo Gonzalez, me. I mean, we have a lot of other guys that are going in the right direction to become world champions. But again, until we don't get there, we can't be, we can celebrate. I could talk about myself, and I can tell you that I'm doing my best. I'm staying focused. I'm staying dedicated to make that happen and to bring that glory back to Puerto Rico.
Right. And it feels like with any ethnic communities, you always kind of feel the pressure of, if I'm the face or if I'm getting attention, I got to make sure I keep the door open for those coming behind me. And you also know anytime that there's negative press, it almost feels like it comes on all of us. I know you've been aware of what happened with Juan Manuel Lopez, also those situations like that. Does that put any additional pressure on you to make sure that when people think of Puerto Rican boxing, they think of you. They think of, all the good achievements first instead of any of the recent negative
Yeah, I
press.
mean, I wouldn't say pressure is more responsibility the way I look at it. But again, Juanma Lopez did his own mistake as a person. Um, it's something that we cannot say, oh, it's because of this or it's because of that. He did it because he's his own person. He committed those mistakes. So we cannot do nothing about it. For myself, all I can say is I got to stay focused. I have to keep a tight circle around me. Um, keep my family, stay positive in my head, and everything else will fall in place.
Gotcha. And also in boxing, we like to almost give stereotypical attributes based on where you're from. So like Eastern European fighters say, okay, they're upright. If it's a fighter from Colombia, like, okay, they have power. So, and of course with Mexico, they always say they're the Mexican warrior, they got the heart, they're good body punchers. But there's something I noticed about Puerto Rican fighters that I haven't seen anyone really mention a lot is you guys as a whole have fantastic left hooks. With Cotto, with Trinidad. And I was even thinking Danny Garcia, he has a great left hook. And then I'm looking at you really dig your left to the body. So is there anything in particular that I'm missing? Why Puerto Rican fighters seem to have just fantastic left hooks?
Man, it's just fundamentals. We as as boxers, we like to break everything down and not just the hook, but every punch we like to break it down and work and do it over and over again, because that's what's gonna make perfect. That's what's gonna make the punch comes out perfect at the end of the day. So that hook is just there. Sometimes it's to the body, sometimes it's to the head, but we practice it so much. We dig to that body so much that sometimes it's just the elbow pops up and you just land it at the right time at the right moment, and that's it. That's all it takes.
I love it. I mean, left hook knockouts to me are some of the best knockouts you can get. So I have no problems
Yeah.
with that. And I mentioned that, you mentioned before how much Miguel Cotto was an influence on you. I noticed, you've been rocking the cornrows lately. Miguel had those early in his career. I see you got a ponytail now. But I wanted to ask you with Miguel, what would you say is your favorite fight of his? He's had so many classic moments. What was the one fight, that you love to watch over and over?
Miguel Cotto versus Margarito, the second fight.
Really?
That
Second fight.
second fight was revenge for not just Puerto Rico. He meant a lot. He meant a lot to the island of Puerto Rico. He meant a lot to him. So that I would say that was my favorite fight of his.
Got it. Definitely, the revenge fight, great story. Another chapter in the Mexico Puerto Rico rivalry.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, looking at the scene now, there's no one that's really emerged yet that I can think of might be your rival. Is that something that you're kind of looking forward to, seeing if you can get that iconic Mexican rival as you get older?
Right now, I'm just looking forward to keep moving forward, to keep winning fights. When I get to that next level, I would like to fight the best. That's all I can say. It doesn't matter if it's a prospect coming up now, if it's a champion at the moment, if it's somebody that's been a champion before. I just want to fight the best. I want to fight the best names when I get to that level. But for now, I just want to keep moving forward, keep getting wins, and keep ranking myself up in the world rankings.
As you mentioned, because you've been fighting so often, you have quick turnaround, so you've been able to stay really focused, really stay engaged. But on the downside, being that you're a 19-year-old with all that time in campus, of time away from your friends, if you were in school right now, you'd be in college, dating, having all that type of fun. How difficult is it, if it is at all, keeping focus and, being able to stay engaged, being away from your friends so
Man,
often?
I don't say it's difficult. I've been doing it my whole life. I've been doing it since I was 6 years old. It's all a sacrifice. There's people that have sacrificed things a lot earlier than others. But at the end of the day, it comes down to who wants it more, who can sacrifice more, and who believe in themselves more. And myself personally, I do believe in myself a lot. I know when to make the sacrifices, and again, I've been doing it my whole life, so it's nothing new to me. My friends understand that is my job and it's my life on the line every time I step into the ring. So they understand that when it's time to work, they got to step aside and let me do my thing.
Got it. It's good to hear. It's good to hear. So switching gears though, let's say you weren't in boxing. Let's say you were in college right now. What would Xander Zayas be studying right now?
Criminal justice.
Really? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Got it, got it. Now, would you go into like the lawyer side, being a judge or detective?
I'll say a detective. Detective side.
Detective.
I like to
Okay.
investigate things and find out myself what's going on. So I'll say detective.
I'm gonna have to send you some stuff. I'm actually working on a mafia book about 1920s and 1930s as far as gang members and things like that. So I'm gonna have to send that to you. Sounds like you have an interest in that. So I'll let you know when I finish
Yes,
that
sir.
book.
I do.
Got it, got it. So let's switch gears again. So I'm a little bit older, I'm turning 40 this year. So I get into gaming every now and then, kind of get too busy. Last year I got into two big games, Last of Us 2 and Ghost of Tsushima was the ones that really got me on PlayStation 4. But I wanted to get your opinion since you're more in tune with it. If you could give me like three more games to buy before the year is out, which games would you recommend? Could be either Xbox or
well,
PlayStation.
well, well. It depends on what kind of game you like. Me personally, I like Warzone. Because I can play with my friends and I can stay connect with them. Um, But if you're looking to a more tactical game, then I'll say the Division 1 and 2. They are both great games. Ghost Recon, I think that's the name. They are also great game, great tactical games. If you're looking sports, I'll say Madden, FIFA. I like FIFA. I like 2K. Um, so it just kind of like depends on what kind of games you like. Those are my two favorite game, war games and sports games.
Okay.
So that's what I'm really into and what I try to stay around.
You definitely
But
need a new
again,
boxing game.
yeah, but yeah, they definitely need a new one. I think a new one is coming out soon, so we're waiting on that. There's also a lot of car games like Need for Speed. They're also really good. I mean, all my friends play it. I don't like it. I'm not personally a car fan,
Mhm.
but I could play it here and there.
Gotcha, gotcha. I think the game is the boxing one is EA Sports Club. I think it's the name of it. So I think they just added Deontay
Something
Wilder
like
to the
that.
game.
Yes,
Yeah, so you
yes.
might be able to get into it too. I think they're licensing everybody one by one, so something to keep an eye on.
Hey, the future will tell.
Right, gotcha. So my last question for you. So going back to Puerto Rican fighters, the main thing that a lot of people have got attention from with you is the fact that you signed so early at 16. And it reminded me of Wilfred Benitez. He started his pro career, I believe, at 15. But on the downside, when you start that early, you normally kind of finish earlier too. I even heard Canelo, he turned pro at, I think, 16. He's saying he only wants to fight a couple
Yes.
more years. In your case, do you have that kind of timeline where you want to get out a little bit earlier, or do you feel like you'll be a Bernard Hopkins and I'm just going to fight until I can anymore?
No, you know, that's something that I've talked to my team and my family, and then everything goes right, everything aligned the ways that it needs to align. I stay dedicated, I stay focused on what I have to do. I think by 30, 30, 31, I should be able to say I accomplished everything that I wanted to accomplish. I I'm good on the financial side, and my family could live an excellent life, the life that I always wanted to give them. So I think maybe by 31, 32, maybe pushing it a little more. It also depends when it gets to that age, what the heart decides. At the end of the day, we're boxers, we're
Right.
fighters, we like to fight. So it's like, I want to say 32 most, but I know that probably my heart will be like, no, you got a couple more years. So
Right.
it depends. I mean, we got almost 12 years left for that to happen. So when the moment comes, I'll be sure to make the right decision.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, it's great meeting you this first time. I'm going to be hopefully ringside on the 23rd to see you fight. It'll be my first time seeing
Yeah,
you fight live. So look forward
thank
to
you
it.
very much.
For anybody out there who this will be their first time seeing you, they're probably going to want to go back on YouTube and check things out. What would you recommend is the perfect Xander Zayas fight for people to watch for their first time before the 23rd?
Well, my last fight was awesome. My fight number 7 or 6 was also really good. I mean, all my fights, I always try to bring something new, something special, something that people can say, oh, he learned something new, he improved in something. So this October 23rd won't be the obsession. Working on a lot of things, adjusting to a lot of things, just don't miss it, ESPN. If you're in Atlanta and you can make the trip to State Farm Arena, make sure you get your tickets now. I will put on a show. I will put on a show. I will do what I do best, and that's to win.
Fantastic, Xander. Appreciate your time today, and you take care.
Thank you, brother. Have a good one.